King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, He is the King of Kings. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus is the King of Kings. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus is the King of Kings. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus is the King of Kings.
All right. You can start off with some movement of the brothers. One of the things that we did very early on was make sure that the brothers traveled around and became known in other dioceses. Yeah. So the first place I went to was over to the village right to the north of Maleta. That's Surafo. And I really found it for me it was interesting and something different because, all right, I knew about catching fish with the rod or various things like that, but then to stand on the reef with the net, you know, and then you go closer and closer and closer, and water is up here, you see. So it was a wonderful experience. And the fish was very lovely to eat as well. And the other thing that I remember from Sulafo, apart from the services, was the men's toilet was at the far end. But him no got a wall behind this way here. So look at that, pick it in, come round here. And look at that looking bottom blow with that white man. So that was, I thought it was a bit funny, say, but anyway, it was very good because we did a lot of walking up there and going to the small island next to it. I've forgotten its name now. Anybody from Sulafo, that area? Where it was a heathen island, and we went on to that one as well, and so seeing that. So really the people were open to us and showed us about the place and introduced us to Melanesian culture and Melanesian ways, because it was plain that they wanted us to work here, they wanted us to bring our Christian Franciscan way here, but they wanted to teach us how to be Melanesian also. And I think that's an important part of any ministry, is that it's not just me changing you, but you change me and I change you, and so we grow together. And that was I think the great lesson I had, because I think we walked it almost from the arriving on Maleta, we walked up to Strofo, a long way to walk, yeah, you know, stopping at Foambu and places like that. So it was lovely to see various areas and places, and see what a very different place Solomon's is from where I live, but also different from each island is different. Each island has something interesting to offer. Anyway, back to Honiara. Patterson House was built, and right from the beginning, I think we caused trouble for you, because there was one brother from England, one brother from TI, one brother from, well, the Solomon Island brother, then another brother from Australia. So we were all different, and so we wanted people to come in. So we made it open house. And so the problem we have now when people coming in all the time, or people coming in for meals and things like that, we feel like starting here. So it's our fault, yeah, because we wanted to know people and we wanted them to know us. And when they come in, we felt welcome. We felt that we were being welcomed into the Solomons. And so then from there it was so easy to then start moving out and going to the different areas and staying with the people. So some of us tried to learn some languages, you see. And the best phrase I had, because I was learning Sikayan at one point, was, because it's good to eat, so we say, hey, tomato halikarna? Which means, oh, give me the food. So this is the thing. And I think the best thing we had when we came was the fact that the bishop was one of our tertiaries, Bishop John Chisholm, and he was wanting us to work alongside him, and so we would do lots of work with him and he would work with us. We then, as I said, wanted to go out and experience the other islands. And I know I went, as I say, went to Maleta and to Isabel. We landed on the coast, then walked up to, then walked over the mountains from up to Kia, then over the mountain to the other side of the thing. So it was really good sort of meeting different people, and everyone was welcoming us. So I think, you know, the name The Friendly Isles is yeah, but I'm seeing this friendly Isles is really, because it's full of friends, and it was something that we enjoyed doing. So we welcomed people into Patteson House. Right from the beginning, the services on Sunday were very well attended. At that time, when we arrived, they just pulled down the first half, the entrance half of the old cathedral, and they were getting it ready to build the church store in that building. And so what was left was the sanctuary, and that's where we worshipped at first, in the sanctuary of the old cathedral. And then they built the church that's now the hall in our place. Yeah. As I say, traveling was the important part, to get to know people and to be with them. I can't think. We used to walk in many places, drive to many places, and of course the Melanesian Brotherhood were good friends too, straight away from the beginning. I mean, I think one of the biggest shocks I got in my life was we went to Tabalia and service there, then had a meal, and the first spoonful came out and it was the hand of a Kandora. And I looked at that and I thought, oh, what's this? Then Vahi said, oh, can we good? So you got many shocks, you see, but I think the important thing for us was to be open. Then, and the other thing that we did in Honiara with the schools and that, but then we started moving out. Myself, I went and spent quite a bit of time at Honiara. We had a small house there for a while, and I was an engineer before, so I was always been involved with the ships, you see, and with repairing them and so, and I made many good friends there, like this one I visited the day before I came here, who was originally from Gilbert Tees, and he was, I think, second captain. And now he's very, very sick. Yeah, became mama. So there's lots of very good memories and lots of sad ones because, you know, time you go Kasim age Rumi, you plenty of friends and we go walk about finish, yeah. So you try to remember things. There's I don't know, did I tell the story about John Chisholm and the laundry?
Yes.
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 Yeah. You see? So things like that, you see, with everybody seemed to be friendly. And there wasn't so many people here, so I think Honiara was a much nicer place to live in. You could walk about on the roads. But now there's too much traffic. Well, let's think, which is the best way to go. We travelled a lot on Southern Cross because the Archbishop wanted us to go out and to go to different places and meet people. As I say, land at Auki and then would walk up to the hospital and then out to Solofo. We taught at the various schools. I got into some terrible trouble in one of the schools. The piccaninny really had a fight with me because it was Christmas. And there was one big boy, and I said, okay, you can be the donkey for acting the pageant. And then I said, oh, and this little girl can be Mary and sit on your back. Oh, big row because you can't put a woman on a man's back. You see, and I said, oh, be wrong now. Yeah. So Bognavera School was the one that we acted, because our way of mission, you see, would be to go into the different areas. My area was Bognavera. Now, let's move out a bit. Let's see what I'm talking about. Patterson House, very quickly, well, sorry brothers, but it gets filled up with people. And that's our fault again. Because when we came here, we wanted to welcome people, and that Patterson House would be a meeting place for any Christian. Yeah? And so we had an open house, and that was part of our policy in those days. I think it's gone a little bit too far now, but we can't help that. We started off sort of sharing with the sisters, and so we shared the cooking and shared eating together and services together. But then the sisters felt that with all the men coming into the house, that it was hard for them to get sisters to join them. The parents wouldn't like their daughters to come and live with the sisters where there's slacker men about the place all the time. So they divided the house, Patterson House, and they stayed at that side and things. But it was still very good because in our days the sisters, well, the brothers very quickly learnt out that one of the sisters, who was an old one from Australia, was a very good cook. And so every so often we would go out the back door to the window and say, "Sister, you're going to cake." And then she would look at it and passing cake out, so the other sisters didn't see. So there's lots of good things with that one.
You used to say that, you know, the Sisters of the Church is CSC. Yeah? Then you would say Community of Sisters of the Cake.
I think really, I've mentioned the Archbishop a number of times, but he was nearly every week, one or two times in the evening, he would come when we're just sitting around talking, having a cup of coffee, and he would come in and talk with us. And the other thing he used to do, because there was two Europeans because the food was different. Because we try to live with Melanesian food as close as possible. So every Saturday morning, Brother Gerard used to go to Bishopsdale for Mass and then have a big breakfast with bacon, eggs and all those things, you see. This was the way the bishop would say, oh, I make sure you have one good meal. Then every Sunday I used to go for lunch. And again, you see, so right from the beginning we felt we were being supported in all directions. There was an openness and a friendship here. But I found the same friendship when you're going around visiting people. You're welcomed into their house. I don't know if is it still the same?
Yeah.
Anybody know? Yeah, it's still very open. Yeah.
Very open room.
Yeah. And and you got to know many people like that. I always remember there was one place I used to visit was Asanatha. She was from Fiji, and her husband was from Malta, and her mother and father lived there. And Alice was her mother. And I'd be walking down the street and meet Alice at Brohter Cross, you see, and Alice was talking. And when she was talking, she always had a pipe. She would take her pipe out and hand it to me, and I had to. And everybody coming past would be looking. this white man, two fellas smoked again. But I think that wouldn't happen in England. But I think and so we had to make sure that we weren't different. We wanted to be exactly like you. We wanted to learn from you. All right, we came for one thing, but our ways are not the best ways. And so there's always an exchange of custom. So we had 4 people, so different. And then various people came in, especially the one who used to cause most trouble when he was a young man, Andrew Manu. Andrew, any trouble or mistake, Andrew make him. He's a very funny man. And then, of course, every week he would say, hey, come look him. Well, his elder brother, I think, because the big row, he'd upset them. So he spend more time visiting to help him. But what I'm really trying to say is, I think our brothers and the sisters of the church, we didn't come to change Melanesia. We came to become Melanesian. We came to live your life, not to make you live our life, because this is a different country, different conditions, and much of the hope was good, and so lots of very good things happen. Some funny things happen, and one funny thing happened. It was Christmas, and one man came in about 1 hour before Christmas service, and he'd been drinking, and he said, "Oh, what time by service here?" And he said, "Oh, 1 hour." "Oh," I said, "Buy me go sleep, stay at church here." So he went in the church and he went to sleep. And he didn't wake up, and the service finished. Everybody went away, and still. So we had lots of laughs as well. And sometimes you never knew what was going to happen next, because we had. Does anybody know George Kaur? Yeah, from Surafo. They don't know him. Yeah, he was a small boy when he came to us. Mommy and Daddy brought him when he was 12, because he couldn't do any more teaching, and he said to him, For me, fella, give him this one for me giving you this boy, yeah, for him for houseboy blue fella. Yeah. But anyway, we looked after him rather than him looking after us. But one time, we're having a Friday evening Eucharist, time for baptism, and the thing was put, everything was set up for baptism, you see, and everything's done. He was the church keeper, so he prepared everything, and everything was prepared good. So we start the service, then we get to the time for baptism. Then George walks to the front of the altar and puts his hand, "Stop," he said. "There will be a slight delay." He turned around, he went out and rushed in with water because there's no water in the pot. So everybody started laughing, you see. So there was, what I'm trying to explain is that we enjoyed being together. And so going to church was not something hard, but it was something you enjoyed doing and sharing with the people. And I think we had a lovely congregation. They still have a lovely congregation, but it's very big now, so you don't know as many people as they did then. Anybody got any question about what we've been talking about?
Me kadang because question ministry and because time do you somewhat now really challenging too much when time lo ministry lo Patteson House and very challenge lo the first time you all arrive.
I think the most challenging thing was that you never knew what to expect. Right. From the beginning, we went to the hospitals, we went to the prison, we went to schools, all these things. And then anything could happen. I remember one time, someone knocks on the door. And you open the door and someone says, hey, brother, we run away from prison here. We escaped from prison. And he didn't know what to do. So he said, oh. I said, what, you want to go back to the police station or what, you see? So, and so, you get up in the middle of the night and you walk along to the police station and he said, oh, man, you like this. So you never knew what was happening. And people, you see, someone who was frightened like that, so he's safe coming to us. And I think that was the lovely part of it. And I mean, even all of the Chinese people in the shops were very good to us. Yeah, I must say, when we first came here, we were very accepted, and so we were talking with Christopher this morning. I was, and I know I think Patterson House is probably one of the hardest houses to live in. It's always full of people, but that's our fault. We had opened the door and we said, oh, we come here, we're strangers, we're new, we want to know the people, we want the people to know us, and so we make anybody welcome. And so people come for a drink of water, something like that, come for help, something, and we saw that as part of our ministry. Now, I'm not saying you should do this, because I know at present now there's so much trouble, because you can go in that dining room sometimes and full of beds and And I think a good example is the first person who really lived with us for a long time is still there, Mark. Yeah. And I mean, Jeffrey Leonard took him to New Zealand with him. Yeah, he would walk about. Yeah, so I think the thing was, we wanted to say to people, we're not different to you. All right, skin will be different color, language will be different. So I try to learn Pidgin, but we want to work together, and I don't know, I think we succeeded. I think because everybody accepted us, and some very nice things happened. I think some questions now we have, because I'm getting home. Any questions?
Better of asking. How did you got linked with Bishop Alfred Hill?
Was there's two confusion about Alfred Hill and John Chisholm.
Yeah. Alfred Hill, already hallelujah by this time. He was from England, and many stories about him, and people knew with him. But I think he was a friend of the Franciscans before my time, before he came here, you see. And so the stories of Alfred Hill, you know, are part of the history of the Church of Melanesia, but they're also part of Franciscan, because he was a friend, and I think he was one of the people who first gave the idea that we should come here. He was a friend of Bishop Strong in Papua New Guinea. Bishop Strong was the priest in the church my family went to. So I met him before I came here, because he used to come back and take services, you see. So there's many connections with Papua New Guinea and Solomons, you know, through people from UK, like that, you see. John Chisholm was Australian, but I think he was ordained and lived for quite a while in London, you see, and so there was also contacts made that way with him. And then he was chosen to be, he first went to work in Papua New Guinea, and he was I think he was the dean of the Gura, and then he was elected bishop here.
Thank you.
During your time, Danny, can you culture and be here, Melanesia, and have a two-way thing, as you mentioned, finish two-way. It's culture. You teaching me teaching you. And which is good. But you said, rubbish.
How?
No more you say openness here, no Patteson House. That
I say,
too many people come.
Sorry, I understand,
Yeah. But no, the answer is no. And for me, no more, yeah? Because this is Daniel and I now talking. For me, no more. Because you look from the start, that openness, focus him this time. I'm good for something, yeah? I'm not wrong. No more. Each one, you mean not for thinking good, for scaling. How not is for openness by my dream, for good back more. I'm not very important thing, you mean not, yeah? And that's the challenge. Just then you put them straight here. Yep.
Also, I travel around each friary, the small friaries, and I see they got them something of spirit. Patterson House too. They're open. You go to Motu or Vuru or any other friary like that, people coming and going, people from the village come and go, people in transit or anything like that, they come and go, and the ministry happens. Sometimes you say, what do the brothers do at Kira or Tomotu or something? Well, sometimes they just sit there and people come to them. Like in Kira you see, they come along the road and they call into the friary, they come into the hospital, they call into the friary. So I think, it wasn't just Patterson House where you set a character, it's spread, and which is a good thing, as Clifton's saying, and that's why we got so many brothers here today too.
Yes. I mean, one of my favorite places, I must say, was visiting a prison and showing the movies there. But we had one funny story there, because one man from Maleta, his dad had been priest, and he'd got into some trouble. It wasn't very big, but there was one of the other prisoners was trying to do some custom magic with him, you see. And it was very funny because the first one came to me and says, "Hey man, yeah, he's having causing too much trouble with me, yeah. So he got him this fella black stone, him got him power." And he was really frightened from this black talk to him. So we story together. And time we story together, I say, "Hey, I think I may trick him a little bit here." And he say, "So what's way? You got him power?" No, me no got him any power, yeah. Hey, I say, me feeling something black in this double on me, yeah. No. Then his leg comes up here, yeah. Then he say, "Hey, give me black, give me hard, give me all same, yeah." No. Oh, I think something, yeah. Oh, but this one trouble for you, yeah. I think him good, you go bring come. Me look for him. So he came, you see. He's giving this black stone, you see. And I say, "Oh, wasn't this one him got power?" No. I say, "Oh, so him good, me put him holy water low him." Man upset now because he come from somewhere up in the hills on the later, yeah. So he's a custom man, yeah. So I said, "I think it's good you give it to me." And then we went out and threw it into the sea, you see. And then that man from later, he was happy then because the other one was trying to make trouble with this thing, you see. So then afterwards I say, I think I've done something wrong here. I mean, lie out of my
One of the things that Danny, your speech yesterday and today is ministry, where look, Hemi, give him come to, and everyone you ask question, that's ministry, and this is the challenge for us, brothers, is ministry. So by we look carefully and wisely, how now by me make him real attractive more, the government, the church, and the local people by me. How now by me attractive more, because him attractive finish. But is there any way more for make him attractive more? Because Danny talk about time what comes start two-way thing. Then walk about on the street. See? Walk about on the street, say good morning, shake hand, how are you? See? Then him borrow pipe, the old woman here, him smoke, See? It's a ministry. Although by we love, we look to him, I true. By we love, yeah? But no more. Small thing, but him bigger than the eyes were looking.
This one's true. Sometimes it's very hard too, yeah. Time in the hospital when I went with Norman Palmer, with the man who's got cancer all over his face, how to give him communion. I mean, to give him communion means, all right, I'm your brother. To hold your nose and walk out, you're saying, "Hey, you stink. You look no good." And I think sometimes that is the problem with how we go to people. Yeah, we reject them and say, you're not worthy of me. Me high winning you. But no more, yeah. You mean everyone same, yeah. You mean everyone born same. You mean everyone cry of picking in. And I think one of the things that made me coming to Melanesia easy is because when I was a small boy, we lived in one street. This house, I lived with my father and mother. This house, my grandmother. The next house, my auntie. Across the road, my grandmother's father. great-grandfather and his other daughters. So I didn't grow up in a, like most Europeans, in a small house. I grew up with a huge extended family, all living in the same little area. And I think that makes it very important that you have other people with you who are thinking the same, the way same, the ideas, yes. Yeah. And I think that's the way, yeah. With Clifton and the others, when they came and stayed with us, sometimes row. And then, I mean, sometimes it's all, sometimes it's different, you see. Sometimes I did European work, especially when I was an engineer at sea, you see, and a big ship comes in, and I know somebody on the ship, and so I go on and we have a meal and we drink too much. So that's time for refreshment. Yeah. It didn't happen very often. Any other questions or ideas or? I mean, one of the things I liked best here was in the chapel, you see, because I think, and it was baptism. And my short time at Patterson House, we did some baptisms, you see, and this is the baptisms that I did. So I've got all their names, still have to pray for them, you see. This page, this page, this page, this page, this page, this page, this page. You look at, I don't know how many here. And some of them I have to pray on the proper day. So, so it's an important thing, I think, the work. So just our ministry in the churches is important, because we walk with people.
And also you challenge us. You challenge me, Danny, with that little thing where you look after how you taking baptism, and you writing down all the names of people. Priest, before we look him that Brohter go visiting people inside the houses Brohter ministry, and also doing baptism. Brohter go looking at people from picking where him baptized. At the moment, so that's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a ministry, brothers. You look him go, him ministry. For man sick, you may write him down. Remember me. Not only baptism. And I use agreement. Whatever.
But one thing I do remember is you've all heard of Dr. Fox? Okay, because we used to do every Sunday evening we used to take service and join in with at King George School, and Dr. Fox was on his way back to New Zealand, and he came across, he was staying with us, and we took him to speak to the students at the college, and it was amazing, because this little old man came in here, and then as soon as he got there with all those children, he changed. He was a young man shouting and full of power. Yeah. And it was really tremendous. Yeah. Yeah, we have lots of stories.
And you said Dr. Fox lived at Patterson House?
Yes, for a little while.
Right.
Before he went back to New Zealand.
The room that Ben Tabagal was in, I think. You said
the last one on this side. They're coming to there's toilets here.
Yeah.
This last room. That's where he stayed.
That was Ben's. That was Ben's room. Yeah. Well, that had Dr. Fox lived there.
Mm.
Yeah. And you can see him in the, at All Saints, behind the altar, all those saints. Do you know which one is Dr. Fox?
They have repainted that now and it's all white.
You can
No,
see him
but
though.
you can still
he's
see him.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No.
they're looking this way, right down the bottom side, this side.
Very short man.
Very short man, because he was he was tiny man,
Yeah.
very short man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like the one that,
I've got a letter for him somewhere. I can't think where I put it down. When he went. He's a Dr. Fox is a very funny man. Has anybody heard of Ethel? Ethel? From Isabel? From the south? She used to be the matron at Taro in my time. She maybe she's died now. But it's very interesting because Ethel, she used to go and check up at Taro. This is when we were living over there. She would go and check up on Dr. Fox every morning. And she came in, Dr. Fox is lying on the floor. And she goes and no pulse now. And she looks at him and she says, hey, what I do? Oh, when the new baby is born, if it's not breathing, we get him a bucket of water, put him like him, shock him. So she rushed out, got this bucket of water, Dr. Fox jumps up, and then for about 2 weeks after that, anybody comes to him and say, oh doctor, you happy? No, you go and see Sister Ethel, she'll throw a bucket of water over, she'll baptize you again. Oh. Yes, he's a very funny man. One of my treasures I've got is a letter from him after he went to New Zealand. I can't think where I didn't bring it with me, unless it's still in. So anybody want to ask any questions? We still have some time about what we've been talking about.
Last question from me, because you were at the beginning of Franciscan Solomon Islands, and now you come at a time where everyone knew you know. So what now? But you say, the advice where you say you follow Solomon Islands brothers. Should be maybe a what now? How now by me team?
Okay.
Yeah. What now you should say from the beginning and now and then the future. What now you should say for Franciscans now Solomon Island in terms of ministry or the challenge today the world.
I think that the first thing is you keep your eyes and your heart open. So you see what is happening and you have compassion for people who are in trouble. That you remember at all times that you're a Franciscan and St. Francis was a person for people, so he cared for people. He cared so much for them, and why I really sort of think the hospital ministry is important is like Francis. Francis cared for the people who were suffering most with sickness. So much he cared for the people who had leprosy that he got leprosy himself. I mean, I don't say go and get sick, but he worked with them when he was in danger. And so I think that's an important part. And Franciscans, what are not high tumas here, what are ordinary people who walk with people. And if you walk with people, then you find that even though you can, well, the experience for me, Franciscans can talk to a beggar on the street and to the Governor General. You know, there's no difference. I mean, one of the one of the things I found, how shall I put it, the most, in a way, inspiring about Solomon Islands was when we first came here, you go to the cathedral, the front row has two people sitting in it. One was the Governor General, and the other was a man who was long. And he used to come and they used to sit together on the front row of the cathedral. And the Governor General didn't get upset, didn't say, "Oh, go away." So this man would come from the hospital, sit down in the front row with the Governor General. You know, and I think that's one of the important thing about St. Francis and about us. No matter they're high, no matter they're low, they're the same to us. And we counteract with them. And I think it works. Is that all right?
Yeah. Thank you.
One question here, brother. Kami pala starting Franciscan. What na vision blow you for looking the time, kasim this time? I mean, your vision that all time. When you starting small community, in future time, I should also. Time you come here, you looking that vision blow all the time. Hemi a success. No mission blow all the time.
Too much smoking. then as Mark Didili would say it. Yeah, no, I think so, because I think the St. Francis always, and all Franciscans would be open to all people. And this is what I mean, that there's no difference between the Queen and this fella, man Long. It's not Long, that's Papua New Guinea. What's the proper word for someone half sense?
Half sense.
Just half sense, yeah. Because Long is Papua New Guinea. Yeah.
Very good.
Half sense, yeah. Yeah, and I think to be alongside everybody and anybody, so that there's no difference between all people. And you find that's and you get so that you can interact with people. See, I know the first times I went to work in prison was in England, and we went with old brother Kenneth to Wormwood Scrubs. And very soon, well, it was I didn't tell the story before that. Yeah, I told it before, but went to Wormwood Scrubs. I was novice, and we lived with the prisoners. We get locked up in the store because we stayed there for 2 weeks, you see. And I went into this place, the one I was living in, and it was where all the where the chain robbers and all these people were. And I went to they said, "Get your dinner there." So I got my dinner. Then someone said, "Oh, there's a place for you down there." So I walked down, put my plate down, sat down, and everybody in the place was quiet and watching, you see. And so I sort of got something in my mouth, you see, start chewing and say, "Oh, I'll take no notice of this." Then somebody came along, and he was, the way he was walking saying, like a girly boy. Yeah. So he comes along and he sits next to me, and then he looks at you and says something. And I had a mouthful of things, and I just looked at him and laughed, and all of the food went over here. And because I just laughed, and everybody in the ward was my friend after that. Because this man was acting, and they were trying to spoil me, you see, and make me get cross. But I just laughed and said it. And so then you get on, and then suddenly you find that all of those people you're working with. And then a couple of wonderful things happened. One of the areas we visited had this elderly man who had been in trouble, and I'm not exactly sure he's in trouble with the police, and he was leaving, being discharged. And we said, oh, maybe you can go, had nowhere to stay, maybe you can go stay with our brothers in London, you see. So, after he came out, about 2 weeks later, he went to there. Go, he may stay about 20 years there, cook. He cooked for the brothers, he did all sorts of work. He was someone who worked alongside them for about 20 years, then eventually died there. And so sometimes, opportunities come and you have to be ready to reach out and try and help. And say, all right, this man had, I think his trouble was he'd been embezzling, which means stealing money. So what I'm saying is that everybody and anybody can change. So we see someone and we can't say, oh, Manya, bad, him rubbish, him no good. What we're saying is, oh, Manya, you can become good. And so the love and the care and the way we treat him is very important. And I think the thing is, I think the most wonderful thing about St. Francis and about Franciscans is that Franciscans can usually walk with anybody. What I mean is, we don't differentiate between high and low.
Which is ministry for everybody. I'm not done talk like that. So each one of us, you may get a way or technique for hook him come person here. And him got a way and technique for hook him you too. It's very important thing, yeah, brothers. This dan totok lang na yan. Because suppose you understand him good. By him sit down, what house play him, by him sit down, awesome no more. No go same no more. No. Go different little bit. Make him mission niya, you look him go, you say, oh, man, nice flyer, man. This ministry na ya. Beautifying place here. Because each one of us got skills here and talents to play. So no sit down with him. Play him.
Do they all know the story about the Archbishop in New Zealand? All right. The Archbishop comes into New Zealand, knocked on the door and he came in. Archbishop Paul, and we're in the kitchen. And Brother Leo, who is a good friend of the Archbishop, was talking to him, you see. And Leo and Clifton had been having little playing, spoiling each other. And Clifton comes in the door and he says, and he shouts out as he comes in the door, Leo, get your white ass over here. Then he looks up, oh, hello, Archbishop. By this time the Archbishop stopped laughing away like that.